Tonight on the Commune podcast, things are about to get scary.
Join us for some ghost fishing,
where we become face to face with ghosts.
What kind of lore do you use?
I know it's been a while since we actually started this game. I had some issues getting Amazon to deliver the friggin' thing and shitty scammers, but I finally got it and we're here to talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon.
Hold on.
Yeah.
It's called Luigi's Mansion 2 in Japanese and PAL territories, and it's called Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon in the United States.
Why? Who cares?
Hold on. I have a second addendum.
I think numbers are more taboo over here.
It's actually just called Luigi Mansion 2 in Japanese.
What?
Oh, that sounds good.
Well,
Yeah,
how do you know
it's
who owns the mansion?
Well, it's not his mansions. None of those mansions were his. He just goes to the mansion.
Well, then why don't they just call it EGAD's mansions?
Actually, they are his.
I think just the first one was his.
Whatever. Anyways, how have you guys been doing? What have you been playing?
What have I been? Oh yeah, I played Jumping Flash for the platformer long study.
All right, yeah. How is it?
It's really good. I've played a lot of, or I haven't played a lot, but I've played my fair share of PlayStation platformers. And there's good ones like Tomb Raider, but a lot of them, a lot of the good ones even tend to squish the space into a 2D plane. Like, how Crash Bandicoot has really simple corridor levels.
Yeah.
But there's also, like, Pitfall 3D is pretty flat and mostly about the horizontal space, not too much the vertical.
Mm-hmm.
Spyro's like that as well.
Yeah, I guess. You're right. But Jumping Flash, even though the stages are small in comparison to something like Super Mario 64 or Spyro, you still have to take account of the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. Like, vertical distance counts for a lot, and so does horizontal. So I thought it was simple and refreshing and made good use of 3D.
That's neat. PlayStation 1 game, no less. I'll have to try it out myself, because I love platformers. Alright, yourself? What have you been up to?
I guess to keep it in first-person territory, I've been playing Stranger's Wrath.
Never heard of it. What's it like?
It's the third or fourth Oddworld game. No, it's the fourth. So it's a first-person shooter with a light adventure framework. It's nothing too non-linear, but the main gimmick of it, I guess, is that you're a bounty hunter. So it combines more typical strategic first-person shooting with stealth-style gameplay, because to actually get credit for killing enemies, you have to go over to the corpse and or the corpse or the bot or the tied-up guy and bounty them. Sort of, you basically suck them up in a vacuum as if it were Luigi's Mansion. So it makes the gameplay a lot more dynamic than a more cover-based shooter would, because it really pushes you to play aggressively and to try and get close to enemies. So it's a really interesting game. I think it's superb, actually.
Ooh, nice. Glad to hear the recommendation.
Adrian, you're always looking for Xbox One games or Xbox original games, right?
That's confusing, isn't it?
So long before Stranger's Wrath had an HD re-release, its original home was Xbox the first.
Yeah,
nice.
That's actually why I didn't play it for such a long time, because it was kind of one of those games that got lost with that console because it never got backwards compatibility.
Oh, okay. But wait, have you ever played the Xbox original?
Yeah.
No,
I have.
I don't get if the HD remake's any different than a remaster, though.
Okay, because, I mean, if there's an HD remaster and it's easier to get my hands on, and I can buy it cheap on Steam or whatever, then I think I'd rather go for that than the Xbox original version, which might be going for more than what it's really worth on eBay or something.
Yeah, it's very nice looking as well, the HD version.
Yeah, there's that plus, too. So, Derek, you're up last. What have you been up to?
I've been playing Nier. That's spelled Nier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the PlayStation Triple and the Xbox 360. It's from Yoko Taro of Cavia, the creator of Drakengard. It's kind of like a tad bit hack and slash, a tad bit Zelda, a tad bit random stuff here and there. It's a little bit of a mix. And this is a game where multiple playthroughs are very much encouraged, because you're not going to get the whole story if you just finish it in one run.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
It is cool, yeah. Let's see. So one interesting thing about this game is that in Japan, the PS3 version and the 360 version were actually different in a way, where the character design was just completely different. Like, the plot of the game on 360 was you're this gruff old man, well, mid-30s, 40s man, trying to find a cure to save his daughter. And on the PlayStation 3 version in Japan, you're this young-looking teeny bopper kind of guy trying to find a cure to save his sister. So, the big difference between the two is that the design of the character changes and the relationship between the girl that needs to be saved has changed. But when they brought that over here, they just said, you know what, America is not going to go for the heartthrob, so we'll just both versions are going to be the gruff old man.
Wow, that sounds like a terrible choice.
Yeah, that.
I mean, not because there's anything wrong with that plot, but just because Nier is only going to appeal to people who are going to freak the fuck out about any changes made.
Well, the game came out ages ago, like probably 7 years ago, I think it was. So
yeah, that's a pretty I've never heard of a change like that where you have, based on country, two different versions of the same game.
Well, it being based on console is a little weird, but I don't think it's too abnormal to tweak the details of characters like that.
Yeah, but what I've usually that's more for like censorship or localization purposes. Like, I know Bravely Default, they bumped up the ages of the characters so it's not too risque. But here it's just like we not only dramatically changed their age, but I'm guessing their look and even what their relationship to the character was. I don't think I know of any other example where that happened.
Well, basically, I mean, because the 360 version was what this character, he was already in the Japanese 360 version, basically. So it's not like they decided to change everything, full stop for PS3 or anything like that. They just thought, because in their minds they thought, okay, people who play 360 games will go more towards this guy. People who play PS3 games will go towards more this design. That was his kind of way of thinking. But so that's partly why he thought, oh, they're not going to go for the hot young one. So, but it turns out that technically the the Hot Young One version is canon to Nier Automata.
Oh, okay, that's great because I got the gruff old man copy.
Because it's not really a big deal. It's just one of those little. Because the game plays out the same way. The plot's the same, pretty much. It's just the only difference is that it was this version of the guy who did all that, and not the other version is all.
Hey, you want a much bigger change? In Blaster Master, they turned the villain into the hero's pet frog.
What? That's weird. But let's not get too deep into this. On to Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi Mansion.
Hush up, you. Don't make me get out the vacuum.
Oop.
So, speaking of vacuums, what I wanted to talk about today was the ghost fishing gameplay. It's a pretty unique action gameplay that I don't have many other comparisons to other than the original Luigi's Mansion. So, first of all, Derek, you're up first. Just give us a basic overview of how the ghost fishing action plays out.
So basically, when you run across a ghost that's going to give you a tough time, and you hook them with your pretend I'm doing air quotes here when I say hook, because there's no hook. When you lock onto them with the vacuum, you're immediately going to be starting in a fight. The ghost is going to be flying away from you as fast as they can, and you got to try and reel them in with your vacuum. It's this battle of how you can manage catching the ghost very well. There's a better word I could use there.
Probably
because if they if you're too loose with them, they're gonna escape and that's not good.
By the way, it's not confusing when I say ghost fishing, is it?
Well, now I got the image of that Lakitu Boo in my head.
I would say it's not explicit what you mean. I have an idea what you mean, but the game never makes that connection for you. So maybe you should explicate exactly why you drew that connection.
Oh, just because fishing gameplay is the only other thing I had to compare to of here's a thing that's trying to get away from it and you're trying to metaphorically reel it in and capture it. That's why I called it ghost fishing.
So you're referring exclusively to the would-be combat system of Luigi's Mansion?
That's right. And that's why I wanted to mostly focus on that aspect of the game, simply because combat usually doesn't work like that in other games. So, Greg, well actually this is really a question for all of you, but now that we have the basic of ghost fishing in mind, what makes it interesting or uninteresting to you?
I guess the most basic instance of ghost fishing is trivial because enemies don't have much power to get away from your suction. And so what I've noticed is that there are two main things that they do to lend a sense of tension to the combat. The first is that if you are in a room with other enemies or obstacles, either an enemy can attack you and that will knock you out of fishing mode. Basically, you'll have to quit sucking. And if an enemy hooks you around an obstacle and then gets too far away from you, then they can break free of your hold. Another thing that they do to add tension is literal tension. If you imagine that the suction force of the vacuum is a string, you can power up an attack with the vacuum by increasing or by maxing out the tension on that string between you and the enemy, which means recognizing. So, imagine you're fighting a ghost. You need to pull Luigi in the opposite direction from where the ghost is currently flying towards. And so, because the ghosts change direction, that can be hard to do. But as you build up tension in that invisible string, a little meter builds up. And once it's full, you can unleash an attack. And you can also upgrade this bar over the course of the game. And the farther along the bar you are, the more gold you get for capturing an enemy. So if you get the tension up to 1 bar, it's 3 coins. If you get it up to 2 bars, it's 1 gold nugget. And if you get it up to 3 bars, I think it's 2 gold nuggets, maybe more.
3 bars is 3 bars.
Okay, 3 bars is 3 gold nuggets. And so...
bars, they're not bars, not nuggets.
Bars. Anyway, so the tension there is to maintain consistent tension in that string between you and the enemy so as to fill up your power bar. And part of the tension there is that enemies have limited health. So if you suck all of the health out of an enemy, then obviously you can't do an attack. So for enemies with 15 HP, I've found I can get at most 2 bars, but if I try to go for the 3rd bar, it's too far, and then I just lose all rewards, whereas I should have gone for the reward at the 2nd stop. Mm-hmm. So I think those 2 things, combining enemies with other things in the room, and also the string tension, are 2 things that they use to make combat interesting.
You can think of charging bars sort of as like a special meter where you're basically draining the HP of the enemy to feed into your charge. And then when you press the A button, you unleash your special attack to cash in the charge.
I think the problem with seeing it that way is that when you lose your grip on an enemy, you lose all your charge, but the enemy still has less HP. So, like, if I'm working on an enemy with 30 HP and I suck down 20 HP, then get knocked out of it, like, I just screwed myself. I can't get any good rewards because I can't.
Yeah, but
I don't have enough time to build up tension again.
Same thing with Devil May Cry, right? If you get your combo up to a B and you get hit, then your combo drops back down to a D, but now the enemy doesn't have enough HP left for you to get it back up to an A.
Right. Okay. I see what you mean.
That's a good point to move on to you yourself. What makes ghost fishing interesting to you or not?
I think it's all right. The variety in the enemies is obviously the most obvious source of variation in the combat. You do tend to see a lot of the plain green guys who don't really have any specific attacks other than sort of hanging around. But then you'll see, as Golem described, a couple at a time, which will mean you have to take into consideration, 3 different factors at least. 1, which direction the ghost is moving so that you can pull against it. 2, the location of the second ghost, so you can follow whether it's going to attack you, or the state of it more so than the location, because I actually think most of the attacks just home in on Luigi. And 3, Luigi's position, so that you can know when he's going to get hit by the other ghost's attack. So then when you add a third ghost into it, then you are adding an additional factor to keep track of it. And then if you add a ghost of a different type into it, the complexity starts to increase even more, because they'll have different items that interact with them. Like, you've got probably the most annoying ones are what I think is like the shark ghosts. There's purple guys who will move around invisibly and then jump out and scare Luigi, and it doesn't hurt him at all, but it knocks him out of his it knocks his prey off his line.
Just to confirm, you can dodge the scare, right? That's how I remember it.
I don't know. I'm not sure you can.
I don't know either.
But regardless, it's harder to see coming. because there's no other ghosts when they're attacking. You see them lining up their attack, basically. So without getting too diverted onto those guys, that's a place where you're supposed to be using dark light. And I think there's some other purple ghosts where you're supposed to be using dark light. So they try to mix it up that way. I think generally it does kind of come down to flash as many as you can in one go and then reel them all in.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I forgot, that you get extra money if you pull in more than one ghost at once.
Yeah.
Well, they also charge your meter faster.
Yep. I'm not sure what rate, but I did notice it charged the meter faster. Derek, your turn. Hopefully there's enough unique you have to say if it's not just saying, oh yeah, I agree with everything Greg and Greg just said. So what it makes ghost fishing interesting to you or not?
You're not going to like this, but it was sort of the reward factor, like Golem said.
Okay.
Because, well, maybe I shouldn't do this too much, but in the original Luigi's Mansion, it wasn't very rewarding to do it with the regular ghosts. So there was all the boss ghosts around, and sucking them up in like a really huge, practically one shot, you would get bigger rewards for that. But here you don't really have a whole lot of that, since there's no portrait ghosts. So I like that they sort of made it more rewarding to try and. I like that they made it more rewarding for regular ghosts.
Right. And yeah, even though I'm only on the second mansion, I did notice that portrait ghosts seem to be not really much of a thing in this game. This is going to get more into enemy design, but I want to ask you, how do you find the enemies and the different types of enemies play into the ghost fishing? How they work together? Derek, you're up first.
Okay. So let's see. So is this like when you're trying to suck up a red guy and they start making waves at you or something?
Yeah, or easier question is, what kind of scenarios involving the enemies have you found the most interesting or the most tough to deal with? And why do you think that is?
Oh, okay. The three sisters. Very tough.
The three sisters?
Yeah.
So what made them so tough for you?
Well, because I'm pretty bad at playing defensively, so trying to suck them up, because if you're not very good at dodging, then when you're trying to suck up one, the other two sisters or whoever's not being sucked up will try and hit you as you're about to do the charge. So it's really hard for me to be careful in those instances, because I just I'm very on the attack. Mm-hmm. So it's just a cruel reminder that I gotta play carefully sometimes.
That fight definitely, more than anything else, puts a really strong emphasis on the dodge. Usually you can get away without doing it, but I imagine it would take like 2 hours to win that fight if you didn't dodge, because you can never get a charge off without it.
Well, it's not so much that. I mean, you could charge and dodge if you were skilled, but you could also just take the easy way out and just let go of the ghost before you charge, and then they'll just immediately give up and then just cycle over again.
No, that's what I mean, is the 2-hour method. That's the bad way to play. You need to be dodging to actually play it the way it was intended, I think.
Yeah, or at least to play efficiently. But yeah, that fight did also give me a tough time. And even knowing the dodge, that it existed, they would still manage to hit me. Just because, well, you better be really good at timing it. Because not only are you trying to suck away in the other direction that the one you've latched onto is pulling, but you also got to be paying attention to their animations because you have to time it just right in order to actually jump over them.
Yeah, the timing's not especially easy to do, and I think the camera angle is not incredibly helpful. There's a lot of, especially with the needing to pull away from enemies, there's a lot of really fine distinction in what direction you want to be pressing or moving or whatever. And then Luigi also moves slightly differently when you're using the vacuum or flashlight. So it's sometimes a bit difficult to tell exactly when you need to dodge.
Yeah. This is definitely a game that, if I could, I would play with the 3D on, but I'm recording, so I can't. But I think there is actually a difference between the first game and this game. And if I am not full of shit, I think the first game, whenever you did get into sort of ghost sucking mode, it would, angle the camera down so it has a bit more of that top-down kind of view. Whereas in Dark Moon, the camera is mostly the same. I think it tilts down a little bit, but not to the same degree that the original Luigi's Mansion did.
I think it's, okay, I didn't play the original game, but I think the camera seems like it's in closer, or at least it feels like it's in closer than it needs to be.
I haven't looked to see too much about the camera design, if the differences between sucking and not sucking. Back to, yeah. Oh, I guess the one thing to clarify are the mechanics for ghost fishing. If you push the B button while sucking, it allows you to jump. Otherwise, normally the B button is how you run or angle the flashlight down.
Yeah, that's important, being able to angle the flashlight down. I'm glad they put that in there.
Yeah, that's why they overlapped it with the run button. But even then, it's a neat workaround for not having a C stick, because that's how you controlled the flashlight in the original Luigi's Mansion.
Hey, Adrian.
Yeah?
You're totally right about the camera thing. I'm watching a walkthrough now. Of the first Luigi's Mansion, it'll aim way down when you get into a ghost fight.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for checking that for me.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn. Enemy design, interesting enemy encounters, and what was it about the enemy design that made it interesting for you?
Well, is it alright if I spoil an enemy for you?
Actually, quite a few have been spoiled to me because of the scare scrapers, so yeah.
This is one that has not yet been spoiled. There is, later on, actually...
Well, if you name me the enemy's function, I guess it's not that big a deal, so,
So, actually, when we brought up the three sisters, that surprised me, because I completely forgot about those. And then I was like, all the other enemies come back, but the sisters never do. Like, I feel like the sisters are the only unique encounter in the game, aside from the bosses. And,
Yeah, I was disappointed to not see more unique ghosts like that.
Another encounter that I thought would be unique, but was strangely not, is a mummy that you encounter. And so there's a green ghost wrapped up in bandages, and you can't attack the green ghost until you knock off until you suck off the bandages. And the bandages aren't exposed, basically, at first. What you have to do is blind a mummy with your flashlight, and then, well, you don't blind the mummy, but basically you enrage the mummy, and he'll lock onto your current position and then dash towards you. And if he hits a sheer enough surface, then he'll fall down and you can suck off the bandages and kill the ghost. And so I thought that was neat because the flashlight has a couple different uses in Luigi's Mansion, and it's kind of an all-purpose poke at things tool. And I liked the mummy encounter because it brought that to light, that, like, you have an enemy and so you interact with it by flashing a flashlight. And it's also neat tricking the enemy into exposing itself. I think that was an interesting dance.
Yeah. I think that what you just said right there is also what makes Luigi's Mansion's combat, so to speak, unique. And it's that two-step process to take out the enemy to begin with. Like, first, you have to get, like, semi-close and flash them, and then you suck them in. And that is its own interplay. Whereas most other games, you just walk up to them and hit them or shoot them.
What's also interesting about the flashlight versus hitting and shooting is that it has quite a wide hitbox. And so with the mummy enemies in particular, I would be trying to attract the attention of one mummy and then find myself attracting two or more and then having to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing.
Your turn yourself. Interesting enemy scenarios. And what about the enemy design that made it that way for you?
I'm having a hard time thinking of another one that really stands out. Like, I can name some more of them, like the red guys, for instance, but I don't think they're actually very interesting. And they're like these purple blob guys that you have to you sort of corporealize them by hitting them with the dark light, but they never seem to do anything. Every time I've had to fight those guys, I just hit him with the dark light and suck him up, and he never has a chance to act at all.
Right.
But actually, okay, how about the guys that use shovels or armor or stuff like that? So another variation on the basic greenie, sort of, I guess, the intermediate between the regular one and the mummy, is the greenie that has they'll have a bucket on their head, or sometimes they'll have sunglasses on or a shovel in their hand. And yeah,
the sunglasses are actually a different variety.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
So what you'll need to do is basically determine what you need to do to make them vulnerable. So for the sunglasses guys, naturally, the flashlight doesn't have any effect on them. So unusual among the enemies there is that you use the vacuum first to pull the sunglasses off their face. But if you try the same trick when you come up against one of the shovel guys, who also use the shovel to defend themselves from the flashlight, you can't pull the shovel away from them. They hold on to it tight. So what you have to do there to make them vulnerable to the light is trick them into attacking you, basically just by standing there long enough until they get into their attack phase, dodge out of the way, not like the bee dodge, but just like walk out of the way.
Yeah.
Sort of like Golem was describing you do with the mummies. And then you can flash them while they're sort of in a dizzy state after they've missed you. So then you flash them, and then they'll drop their shovel. And interestingly, if you leave them alone long enough, they will pick the shovel back up, or other ones will pick it up.
Oh, wow. I completely overlooked that.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat that it doesn't have too much effect, but it's neat that it's still a live element in the game.
Yeah.
Even after they drop it.
I think that happens too with the pumpkins and watermelons and other balls that they hold over their head and throw at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's weird about those guys is that there are several graphical variations, but they all have the same behavior. They have hockey sticks in Scarescraper.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Something I didn't notice, they all have the same amount of health. The armor ones versus the shovel ones.
They're all 10, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think.
There's only one variation I've seen, but it's a very obviously different one.
But yeah, they're bucket heads and guys with pots and pans on, and so that's why I include the sunglasses in that group, because it's just greenies that have shit that you have to deal with.
Bringing back up the creeper, I think one thing that I liked about this game is how they managed to integrate the dark light into combat. Just one was for the sneaker, and this was actually a tip from Scarescraper, was that you can actually see them. You actually still see the ghosts with the dark light, because dark light gets rid of illusions or things that are invisible. And it's also how you sort of pull out the creeper in order to finish sucking them up. I think one of the ways that Luigi's Mansion, even though those may seem trivial on their own, the more steps you gotta take in order to deal with one ghost is the more time other ghosts have a chance to get a hit on you. So that's what keeps the action interesting to me. So sometimes you gotta decide where and when do you decide to, or who do you decide to take their crap off and deal with them.
I think the dark light really fleshes out the design space of Luigi's Mansion, not because some enemies require it, but more because it's optional for some enemies. Like, I think it makes it easier to deal with the librarian ghost in the first mansion. So I like that you have the regular flashlight and the vacuum are both required, but that you can use the dark light at your leisure to figure out different things or make things easier, or decide not to.
Yeah. I also like the going to what Derek was saying about trying to get in more enemies at once to get in a bigger reward, is being able to charge the light, the strobo. That's something that wasn't in the first game. But aside from what it allows you is to exchange time to have your flashlight go farther and have a wider radius to get more enemies at once. And I like that aspect of the ghost fishing.
Actually, if I'm stretching for comparisons, back to the dark light, I would say it's sort of like a variation on the thermal visor X-ray vision from Metroid Prime, where it's giving you supplemental information by letting you see in a different way. But whereas those games recode the entire field of vision, dark light you actually have to more actively use by aiming.
Yeah, I even, not to gush too much and not to get too distracted, but I did make that comparison to Metroid and why I liked the dark light so much, and getting you to look at the same space more closely in order to find secrets and other things.
Darklight should have been in Metroid Prime 2.
You mean Federation Force?
No.
Metroid Prime 2.
Echoes.
You know?
Adrian.
First
Yeah.
it's dark, now it's light.
I think you had something good to say about ghost fishing with the blobby guys.
Oh, right. Yeah, they made me realize an aspect of the game that helped me play better and more skillfully. So to deal with the
Sorry.
gobbers.
The
What's
yellow
up?
ones, not the purple ones.
Yeah, those are the...
Gobbers.
Yeah, the purple ones are called creepers, and the yellow ones are called gobbers.
No, wait. I think you're thinking of the... those ones are called sneakers. Okay, whatever. Just talk about
Yeah.
the yellow ones.
Yeah, there's two purple ones. The sneakers are the sneaky ones. That's obvious enough. Anyways, gobbers. So gobbers are basically these big, fat, overweight ghosts that they gob or they puke at you. They tend to be mostly stationary. I say mostly because if you get close, they will sumo belly flop at you and knock you out. So just because they're big and just because they don't really move around much, it doesn't mean, you want to test your luck getting close to them. And that's especially a problem if you start ghost fishing another ghost instead of the gobber, is when you get close, he's going to knock you right out of it. And him being so big, that's a large attack range he can cover. But with the gobber specifically, just by himself, when sucking up the gobber, he's mostly stationary, so that part is actually easy. He's not like the hiders, which I noticed tend to move more snake-like, which is why trying to get a charge on him is a little bit trickier, because, they move around more, and when the name of the game is pull the opposite direction, and they start swinging side to side more, that's harder to get off. The gobber, though, of course, mostly stays still. Stays in one place. But what he can do as you're trying to suck him up and get your charge, even then getting 2 or 3 charges, or 1 or 2 charges isn't even enough to take him out because he has a lot of health. Even then, what he does is he'll keep gobbing at you. He'll still keep trying to puke at you. So you're thinking, okay, I'm trying to pull in the only direction I can in order to get this charge off, but he's also shooting at me in my position where I'm basically a sitting duck because the vacuum has a sort of max limit that it can pull. So what that made me realize is that, instead of constantly pulling away from him, what if I just pull to the side? And that's what you do to better avoid ghosts. This applies even to normal ghosts, and it also applied to the Three Sisters fight. Was instead of constantly doing the most straightforward thing, which is pull away to get the best move, sometimes I need to either let go, sometimes even move into the direction they're going to, and go sideways to better naturally avoid them instead of giving up my charge and trying to jump over them. Although, what I find is that the dodging, the way I'm understanding it now is that I want to use more as a last ditch effort is, okay, I'm really screwed. There's nothing I can do because there's like 3 guys around me and they're all attacking at once. Better jump and give up my charge. And then the better way to do is to dodge them simply by movement. So steer yourself out of the way of other ghosts while you're trying to maintain this charge instead of just holding back, never letting go. And that's what the Gobber made me realize. The Gobber himself... What's up?
Sorry. What always got me about the Gobber is that when you use the dodge, Luigi moves in towards him, and then you can't pull away.
Right.
So if you dodge too many times, he eats you.
Yeah, or he'll belly flop you. Because that's another property of the dodge I realize is that when Luigi jumps, because he's still sucking the enemy, but he doesn't have the ground underneath to hold him, he actually jumps and gets pulled by the thing that he's dragging. I believe the ghosts, I'd have to test this, but I believe the ghost's weight influences how much Luigi gets dragged. But yeah, no, that was what the Gobber made me realize something more interesting about the game and for better playing, especially with multiple ghosts, even if they're all, the basic ones. Any remaining thoughts about ghost fishing?
Not from me.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I guess the way that ghosts are, invisible, except when you shine a light on them, that's kind of like, how you have to cast a line before you can see a fish that's invisible to you because you're underwater. I don't think the game does anything too clever with it, but it certainly is another parallel.
Oh, I guess to not go too overboard with just me by myself talking and gushing about enemy designs. One thing that I liked about the hiders is that, well, actually, this applies to all ghosts, but the hiders more so, is that because they like to hide, it uses your basic, more adventure-y of push X to interact with things in order to reveal them out of their hiding spots. The hiders, the way they are, because they don't directly attack you, naturally flow between different hiding spots that you then have to make chase and get them out of the furniture.
Yeah, I think the enemies work best when they're worked into the level design in some way like that. The Polterpup being another example where the really interesting part of, I guess the meat of the gameplay of Luigi's Mansion is exploring and solving puzzles. And the combat feels more like a reprieve to me. I don't think of it as it's not really what I would ever go to the game for. So when the enemies encourage you to explore in some way, or sometimes when enemies are almost a reward for figuring out how to solve some puzzle, like if you, the one I'm thinking of is a spoiler, but sometimes you'll interact with something in a specific way and it'll jostle an enemy out of the environment, and that is always just nice. It makes it feel like the environment's really alive and like the game flows together really well.
Yeah, and I agree. I like that aspect of having the enemies mixed with the level design, and you especially feel it. Like sometimes even the size of the room impacts the fight. In Scarescraper, we would always get this particular room that has a springboard that launches you up to an upper level of the floor. And what would happen is it would actually interrupt the vacuum and sort of pop you away from the ghosts you were trying to catch. So just the simple fact that ghosts drag you around the room as you're trying to pull them, that by itself makes other elements in the level, including other furniture, tables, or crap on the floor that moves you around, more dynamic. I think another behavior of the hiders is that as you're going for other ghosts, any hiders that are hiding will tend to pop out and start throwing these magic balls at you. I don't know what exactly they're throwing.
Ecto donuts.
Alright, with that, I think I've talked all your ears off about the ghost fishing, so I think this is a good time to wrap things up.
Alright. That wasn't too intense.
It was intense.
I mean, so isn't it good to have a nice podcast that's just an hour?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Are we doing another one?
Yes, right now.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Obviously, when I get through the game a little more, so it's not too much spoilers. Well, then again, you've all beaten the game for me, so that itself is a problem.
Nah,
but
I didn't beat it, but I did lose interest.
The game beat him.
The game beat him.
Yeah, so if you want to keep going, maybe I will chip away at it slowly, but I would still be open to participating in a further discussion.
I've been hankering for a topic, I guess, but I don't know.
What did you have in mind? What I had in mind was getting more towards the adventure-y and puzzly elements of Luigi Mansion, and maybe even covering the differences between the first and the second game.
Oh, yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Well, mostly the last part, just like talking about, stuff that makes the two Luigi's Mansion games different. And then we'd all go out to the nearest Dave & Buster's and play Luigi's Mansion Arcade.
Oh, damn.
What the hell does that mean?
There's a Luigi's Mansion Arcade game, is what it means.
Who's Dave & Buster's?
What?
Who's Dave & Buster?
Oh, man, is that not a thing over there?
What is that, an arcade?
Dave?
No, Dave
I
&
definitely know
Buster's
a
is
guy
like
named Dave.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese, but different.
Oh, all right. Well, I haven't played Luigi's Mansion 1, so I'll be out of that conversation.
Oh, no, it's actually based on Luigi's Mansion 2 anyway, so...
No, I know, but if you
right.
differences between the first two games.
Gotcha.
I kind of want to play it at some point, but it's not high on my priorities and definitely even lower after playing the second one.
Who knows? You might like it more.
No, it's not like I hate it. It's more that, now I've gotten a taste and I can pretty much guess what I'm going to be getting.
All right. Yeah. One of the last questions I had was actually how we find the ghost fishing fits into the rest of the game. But we did sort of cover that by bringing up, the dark light, interacting with furniture, and the polterpup. So I think we've got that covered. So with that said, thank you all for joining me for this podcast on ghost fishing for Luigi's Mansion 2. See you next time.
See you next
Later.
time.
All music in this podcast was from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. If you have any comments or questions, please email vgcommune@gmail.com.